Thank you.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see you again in this lovely but gloomy Saturday. And for today's meeting, okay, I'll just count how many person. Okay, it's five of us. And welcome to Book Brewers meeting. I hope you guys have a lovely weekend and lovely weekdays ahead before. And I'm going to start the meeting because Pipi told me to be the the moderator for this meeting. So shall we start right away?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So who's going to present the book first? Wait a second. Fajar, are you ready?
Maybe I will be the third
Why you wanna be the third? You're
I'll be
the
the
first.
last.
because I have not finished reading the book, so I want to read the summary first.
You wanna read the summary first? Okay. Who wants to go first?
Let's listen about the greatest scandals of the 20th century.
Me, I'll go last, sorry. You know, Donald, I had session since 8 a.m. I kind of lost my voice right now.
Okay. Bamita, would you like to go first?
Okay, I will go first because this
Sure.
is a very interesting book. And today is going to be our last meeting for book brewers and also for bookaholics. And I bought this book when I was attending the book fair in Jakarta Convention Center. And I didn't read the whole things. I just read the opening and then some chapters that I thought were interesting and the closing. So, Bu Sri Mulyani has been famous for her motto, jangan pernah lelah mencintai Indonesia, or never get tired of loving Indonesia, our country. And that's why I really admire her, especially after her resignation being the Minister of Finance. Because of the incident, some people went to her house and robbed all her belongings from her house during what was the occasion? I think it was like the protest of the university students, the Gojek drivers, because of the members of our House of Representatives. They were like dancing and they were like, I don't know, what exactly did they tell that made people angry? Does anyone here remember?
I can only
About
recall when the almarhum was being sent to the grave because it was like 1,000 Gojek driver, if I can if I can round up the numbers, passing through the Sudirman Road, which is very near my office, and we were stunned by how many participants going through that road. So I can only remember that part.
Okay, thank you, Diaz, for remembering the event. Yes, that was a big incident in Jakarta for almost 4 days. I think Jakarta was, what you call that, paralyzed. We couldn't go out, only to the nearby areas and the quiet areas, but all the transportations facilities were distracted by the riots, because one of the Gojek driver died because of the police man that crashed over him. And I think now the founder of the Gojek, Nadiem Makarim, is in trouble. I am personally suspecting one of the idea that the government might not let him out because of this incident, because we found out that he's very powerful due to the 4 million people that work for him for Gojek drivers. And some of the people, like including one of the Toastmaster member who is also a professor in a university, mentioned that Nadim is very powerful with the Gojek driver for a million people all over Indonesia can create such a movement. So nowadays, you don't know who is powerful, who's not. So the government is really worried and they just put people into jail. So be careful, yeah? Don't become too powerful. No, I'm just kidding. And Sri Mulyani is one of the powerful women. And I think she experienced a similar incident because after reading her book, she's really, really pro education. So when people said that they trash her house because of her comment that teachers should not be paid or something like that, that's bullshit. Yeah, because she was a teacher before she became the minister. So I think it's just one of the political movement that doesn't like her. So this is what she said in the opening on page 10. She quoted the lyrics of a song created by Professor Satmoko, and the song title is Nasehat Eyang, or the Grandfather's Advice. The essence of this song is that never be afraid of dreaming and always love this country with wholeheartedly. And this is what she said. Ingatlah nasihat Eyang Kakung dan Putri pada kita. Remember the advice of grandpa and grandma. For us, for children and grandchildren, those advices are given during Idul Fitri when we ask for blessings. First, always respect your parents, and then your country, your people. Second, always respect the advice and the teachings that they're showing you or they teaching you by examples. Third, always dream as high as the stars. And the fourth, always united as a family. So I think, like many other Indonesian people, we also always respect our parents. We love our country, and then we remember all the proverbs, the advices such as gotong royong, bersatu kita teguh, bercerai kita runtuh, or other kind of the proverbs that we believe. And family is very important in Indonesia. However, the third advice always has goals or have dreams as high as stars. That's a bit rare for common Indonesians. Yeah, usually as a Javanese woman, like in the family, you go jongoyo, plan asal kelakon. But this is similar to the Western concept, like dream big. Yeah. So this is one of the values that Sri Mulyani believed in during her life. So you can see that's why she became the Minister of Finance. And one of her accomplishments that she is very proud of is becoming the executive director of World Bank or International Monetary Fund. And here on page 431 in her book, she talks about the fight of women in general. She said that when a woman delivers a baby, it's not a vacation. And when a woman takes care of her children, of their babies, it's a really tough job, she said. And not to mention the 9 months of pregnancy. Actually, when they work, they don't need only be compensated, but they also need to be recognized. That's what Sri Mulyani believes. So when she works in the Ministry of Finance, she always asks her employees to appreciate women staff in the Ministry of Finance. She actually was the one who asked for a compensation for work for all the women workers who took 3 months off for the pregnancy leave. And actually, she was the one who created Peraturan Menteri Keuangan, or the Ministry Regulations number 93 in 2018. She changed the word bersalin to become melahirkan, and she said that there is no cut for the cuti melahirkan or the pregnancy leave. It becomes 0% cut. And even for the male employees, they could also ask for the pregnancy leave to be next to their wives who deliver babies. And even when they take this pregnancy leave, they don't get cut from their paycheck. So they can take 10 days off, and they still get paid. And then for the next days that they take off, yes, they get like 5% cut for the days that they ask for pregnancy leave. However, this is the first time in the history of the ministry where the husbands are allowed to take pregnancy leave to be next to their wives who deliver babies. And bravo, Sri Mulyani, because when you deliver babies, when you start having babies, you really need your spouses to be there with you. And this is already implemented and becoming a policy, Keputusan Menteri Keuangan number 807 in 2018. And then she said that, I quote, to become a woman minister or government staff, you get people doubting your work. And if you are able to be in the position that traditionally belongs to men, you will in fact inspire the younger woman and show them that the younger woman can also work in the positions that are traditionally only for men. And then she also confirms the instruction of President number 9 in the year of 2000 about gender equality, and she received Anugerah Parahita Eka Praya for the gender equality commitment. Yeah, this is an acknowledgement or recognition from the president for a ministry to have inclusion, diversity, and equality for all employees in the ministry. And she said that, I quote, when she just began working for the Ministry of Finance, there were only few women and under 10%. But slowly the percentage increased. And she said that now in 2020, all the women staff in Ministry of Finance all over Indonesia are already 25.5% of all staff. So it's a good increase from 10%, less than 10% to 25.5% during her ministry. And then one of her staff said that when Sri Mulyani started working in the Ministry of Finance, she saw that she's very concerned about women, and she's very committed and consistent that the Ministry of Finance really support women workers. She led the policy for the women workers to easily gain access to credits. Fajar ask questions. May I know what you want to ask?
Is the book written in English?
No, it's in Bahasa Indonesia. That's why I'm trying to translate it, yeah? And because before her era, before Sri Mulyani became the minister, women workers could not get access to credits, to loans. But now there are 80% of the small and medium enterprises that are dominated by women workers. So the Ministry of Finance supported the policy to let the access to loans or to credit easier for women. It started in 2017 until July 2020. And now the Ministry of Finance has supported the ultra microfinance for 2.3 million debitors all over Indonesia, and 90% are women. So there is one chapter talking about woman, gender equality, yeah. And in the Facebook, there is an article with the title Educations for Women and for the Future. And in this article, it emphasizes the importance of education and career opportunities for women. And this article is actually written by both Sri Mulyani and Retno Mulyani, who are her best friend. And she mentions how Ratno Mulyani and her were best friends for a long time, and she became, Ratna has become minister before her, and then when Sri Mulyani was the director of a World Bank, they gathered in Den Haag because at the same time Ratna Mulyani was the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and when they both became the ministers for Jokowi, they were very close. They worked together. Their families worked together. They spent Idul Fitri and Idul Adha together. And they were the only female ministers who went with Jokowi to G20 meetings. So they said that for decades of sisterhood, supporting one another, and their long-lasting friendship. And they said that we both are the evidence that Indonesia, as the Muslims dominated country, actually have two women sit by next to each other with the president to become the representatives of Indonesia in the G20 conference. She said that women can become the agent of peace actively. So when there is a conflict, women should never only become victims. Instead, women should become negotiators and mediators. That's why she was talking as a spokesperson for Women, Peace and Security webinar, which had 900 people participants. So what is interesting, she still believes in local value. She said, although both Retno and I are open-minded, we are Javanese women. So it's not easy to juggle between her career, becoming a wife, a mother. But she said, because of God, she knows that she has to become a minister, a director of the IMF, and also her friend Ratno Mulyani also needs to become the minister. So for a woman, we are always faced with choices that never faced by men. We always have to choose between career or family. We are always
Nita,
faced.
sorry.
Yes.
Uh, may I shortcut it into your key takeaways because I'm
Oh,
afraid that the
okay.
Zoom is only lasted until 1:30 as Pipit mentioned before. So
Okay.
thank
Okay,
you.
I will wrap it up soon. And she said that just one more paragraph. She said, women are always faced by difficult situations. Should we get married now or later? Do I want to have children now and postpone my career? Or should I postpone career and have children at the moment? She said. And now, nevertheless, after being married, we need to follow the husbands who are determined to choose the way of life of the wife. So she said, I'm so lucky that I have my mom teaching me to work, becoming a wife, a mother, and also a career woman. So the conclusion here, she quoted a poem in English. She said, for us to always keep our promise to Indonesia and to work to keep our country safe, especially in terms of money, no corruption. I think that's what she means. The poem goes like this. When we are out there in the dark, we'll dream about the sun. In the dark, we'll feel the light. Warm our hearts. Everyone, if we hold on together, I know our dreams will never die. Dreams see us through to forever, as high as souls can fly. The clouds roll by for you and I. So the key takeaway is that although for women that we are always faced with more difficulties and more difficult choices, which one to prioritize, but Sri Mulyani showed us there is nothing that is impossible when we believe in God, everything is possible. Back to you, Diaz. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamita. Is there anyone who would like to ask questions about the book that Kamita shared about Sri Mulyani?
What, Mita, this book is recently released or is it long time ago?
Good question. I think it's new, yeah. It's less than 1 year. So it's a new book. It's an authorized biography. It says that the copyright is at 2024. So it's
Oh, so
new.
this is written before the incident when her house got raided.
Exactly. She was still the Minister of Finance.
Okay, so I'm curious because of how probably she felt betrayed because in her mind she did all she could for Indonesia, but the balasannya is somehow she got raided gitu kan. So I'm curious of her take on Indonesia right now.
That's a very good concern, Pipit. I've never heard of her say anything bad regarding her resignation. I don't know. Does anyone here know her comments after her resignation? What she feels about the incident? For me, I think, although I know it's a betrayal for her commitment to the country, just like Nadiem Makarim. I'm talking about Nadiem Makarim because after this, I'm going to be interviewed by a group of people who want to fight for Nadiem Makarim to be let out of the jail and to be proven he's guilty. So we can see similar movement, Tom Lembong, Nadiem Makarim, Ira, the former Director Utama, and I met her in person after she was let out of the prison just a few weeks ago. And Sri Mulyani also was betrayed. But I think these people, they don't get there because the easy life. So they know, although shockingly, they didn't expect that would happen to them, but they are ready. I think she's stronger than Nadiem because she didn't get into the jail. I think she knew she must have resigned before she was put into jail. So she plays safe. In that way, she can calculate risk. She mitigated the risk because if she hadn't resigned, she could be just like Nadiem Makarim, I think, in the future. So I think resignation is a smart move. It's a safe move, and because she's a woman, she did it because of her experience. Before somebody puts her in jail, she decided it's better I resign. I think that's my personal opinion, Vipin. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing that I know, her latest news, she decided to become professor in Harvard instead of
Oxford.
Indonesia.
Oxford.
Oxford, yeah. So maybe that's one reason. So I don't know.
No, she resigned first, and after a few months, she got the offer to be the lecturer at Oxford.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I missed something, but as far as I know, she didn't resign, but get replaced by the president.
Yes, yes, yes. And I also, Kak Mita, I think Nadiem Makarim became the apa dituduh and went to jail, even though he was no longer the minister. So I think just because someone resigned or got replaced from the ministry, then the person can be free from the prosecution. I don't think that ngefek ya. But then I hope no one will criminalize her if she's innocent.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nadine
Uh-huh.
is no longer the minister. You're right. Yes.
One
Okay.
one quick question from me. Is the book?
Fajar,
Sorry.
the time is up. Sorry, I
Oh,
think that's what the DS wanted to say.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Kamita, for presenting the book and for all those discussions about Sri Mulyani. Let's hope for the best for her and also for Indonesia. Then. Thank you. So, who wants to be the second? Anyone? Otherwise, I'm going to share the chapter of the Psych 101 that again, I would like to share one chapter about this book from Psych 101, where it's labeled as a crash course into the science of the mind. And this chapter that I'd like to share with you guys, then the title is The Magical Number 7 plus or minus 2. It's so this chapter is discussing about the memory limits that human inherited. So uh, this is the chapter where a psychologist named George Miller published his famous paper, which has become one of the key takeaways for other psychologists. The title is "The Magical Number 7 plus or minus 2: Some Limits on Our Capacity for Processing Information." So this is a theory about person's short-term memory, and based on sorry based on his study is that a human cannot take anything more than 7 items unless there's a first organization within these 7 items, and then separate it or categorize it into big or large chunks. For example, remembering our phone number, which most of us has, like for me, for example, my number consists of 12 digits. I cannot remember it all right away, but instead I separate it within three large chunks of my mobile phone number. I think it goes as well with our, let's say, KTP or national identity card. It's also like that, and also uh, perhaps our kartu keluarga, and then also our bank account number, for example. It has been scientifically proved because we have this limitation of remembering short-term memory actually. So um, it's based on this publication. He also mentioned that most human, or maybe 90%, more than 90% humans struggle to recall 10 individual numbers unless it consists of at least four chunks, and then from that it can be easier to remember. So this is also, it reminds me of Yenja Wintersoul, if you do know her, or maybe have ever heard of her name, because she's the first female winner of memorizing grandmaster competition. She's not only because she's a female, but also she's one of the youngest. And then when people ask her about how can you remember 200 digits of number in one time reading, and she said that she mentioned that I separated into at least 3 to 4 digits first, and then she connects it, or she associates it with something that um kind of touch her memory or her emotion. So in one of the interviews, I saw that for example, if she has to remember 20 digits of number, she separates it into five first, and then she associates it with numbers, for example, the year number, like 1976 the is the event of this war, or 1997 is the year where when she was born, something like that. So it's always involves her emotions and memories. Also, it's kind of reflect to what this chapter discuss, because for an hour a day or more than a year, everything that we are going to do is memorize at least something. So if you are struggling with memorizing, if for memorizing, or you want to remember something, it's always better to separate it into chunks first, and also associates it with either what you like the most or what you hate the most. um it's what this chapter mentioned about. So the key wait a second. The key takeaways for this chapter is actually has been helping me into remembering my tasks, and also uh, trying to remind everyone else about this task, since it's for me personally, it's a peak season for cinema. So it has been helping me practically as well. So that's it. That's what I can share with you guys. Do you have any questions?
Yes. In your opinion, what is the real life application of able to memorize something incredibly like that?
Oh, for me, I don't have a specific application. Only my alarm for sure, and then the second is my notebook, which I use my own handwriting to memorize. And I'm for this kind of thing, I consider myself as a old fashioned, because I always write and use post it and also use sticker. That's it, because I think I have already too many applications on my mobile phone, so I don't think my phone cannot add anything else at this moment. So it's always back to my handwriting. And also when I write, I think I can more remember to what I've been writing or what I just wrote, instead of just typing. I don't. It's personal for me though. So it's always a handwriting that is the most effective for me.
Okay. Oh, by the way, who is Marlina? Sorry.
Oh,
Hello.
and
Oh, okay.
is she your student? Maybe no,
No, no, no, no, no.
no.
Okay.
Okay.
Marlina is from Bukoholics
Oh,
Indonesia.
I see.
She is my friend.
Okay.
She used to be the Kebayoran Club Toastmasters Exco with me. So
Welcome,
she's
Marlina.
Okay.
interested
Well,
to learn
Welcome,
more about
Marlina.
book discussions. Pipit, your hair, you got that roll.
Ready to go out after this. No, 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 no.
Okay.
I'm done with the question to Diaz. Anyone has other question?
Yeah, I have a question for Diaz. So,
sure, Donna.
yeah, the technique if I'm not mistaken, the name is chunking. So you try to group several items so that it is easier to remember. Do you have
Mhm.
tips on how to chunk better? Like for example, you said that you have 12 digits phone number and you group it, but each group consists of several digits, right? So is there a
Mhm.
way to do this chunking better?
For this book, sorry, for this chapter, the the chapter only mentions about the number of chunks that's more effective, which is four. Four is actually the maximum big chunks. That's what this book said. But when I reconnected, or when I associated with what I have watched regarding Yenja Winter Soul, it's a lot more effective when you combine it with something that you remember, or with emotions. So, for example, if for my for my phone number, let's say mine is 0822. 0822 is Telkomsel number. So 0822 is something that I would not remember specifically, because it's part of the first digits anyway. But then the next number is, I separated again into four chunks, and then for that four chunks, I associate it with a number when for example, when I went to Semarang for the first time. And also it associates with a number that I think brings me more luck. So it must be connected into something else instead of just numbers, because numbers is actually pretty boring, pretty digit sorry, pretty solid and pretty rigid. So instead, we have to connect it with something else that makes us more remember with the numbers. That's what this chapter mentioned. And also it's mentioned as well by the winner of memory grandmaster competition. I think that
Okay.
I hope it answers Donald's questions though.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Donald. Anyone else? Otherwise, we shall move on to Fajar.
I just want to add some comment. Usually, because people can only hold 7 ideas at most. Usually, when I teach, if let's say there is a very long method, usually I divide it into like 2 parts or 3 parts, because if I teach it the whole thing, student will be confused. So that's what I do.
Exactly.
Called scaffolding in education. Scaffolding.
Yeah, you can.
Scaffolded, right?
Thank you. So, Fajar, it's your turn now.
Right. Okay. So today, it's been a while since I share the book. The book that I want to share with you has a title, Make Time, How to Focus on What Matters Every Day. So as you can see, this is, I think, one of the book that is very useful for professionals like us. For us who work in office, for most of us who work in office, we are sometimes trapped between two whirlpool. The first whirlpool, I think I will just show you the slide. Yeah, I have shared it. I have made it. Oh, okay. So now, actually, why we have no time? Because at one hand, we have so many things to do. Busy bandwagon. Once you are at work, we keep work, no end. It's like keep supplying of endless work. That's what I feel. Yeah. But then once we are at home, we feel already very drained, and there is something called as infinity pool. Infinity pool, like there are like endless amount of content that we can consume in the internet, and there are also some many kind of entertainment that suck up our time, and eventually we don't have any time left. And that's what I feel when starting this job, working as in international school, very busy, and during the weekend I just do nothing during the weekend because I'm so tired. So, what are the better solution for this? So this book is very simple. It highlights 4 points. The first one, the highlight, the laser, the energize, and then the last one is the reflect. Basically, highlight is we need to make a highlight of what is the very most important thing that we do in a day. So, for example, you pick one, and so that will become your the biggest highlight that you have to do. There are several tips that you can do with this highlighting. For example, like you do it in the morning, or if let's say that uh, there are some method. For example, you should focus on the most urgent stuff, the more important stuff, and the one that bring joy and satisfaction the most. And then you have to bring your very focused laser mind to make sure that your highlighted goal is achieved during that day. So you protect yourself from all of kind of the distractions, like the social media or some traps in social media, or probably some messages, some WhatsApp. So we have to protect with that. Actually, there are some more details on how to do that, but I just want to give like the rough idea, the big idea. The third one is the energize. Energize means that we have to make sure that our body and mind can handle those two things. We need to have good sleep. We need to have a good amount, balance caffeine. Let's say if you consume caffeine, if you need to eat good well, and maybe some very easy way to the exercise to ensure that you stay productive. And then last one, it is about reflections. If let's say that you have done your week or your day, what are the things that works? What are the things that doesn't work? And then you reflect upon that, make a journal of that, and maybe you make some adjustment for the next day or for the next week. That's basically the whole idea of this book. And basically, this book is like a chunk of several good ideas on how to do these four things overall. In my opinion, I think this is a very simple book. It doesn't require hard thinking at all. And I actually use a notebook LM to summarize this book, and notebook LM already summarized it very, very easily. It captures all of the ideas. And overall, I like this book. Overall, I think I would give like 4.5, because I like that the author doesn't push the idea of working harder, even harder than you can, but instead he push on the idea of working smart and do what you can, basically. All right, maybe that's the general idea. If you have a question, then maybe you can ask.
Thank you, Fajar. Anyone would like to ask questions to Fajar? And sorry, Fajar, have you ever read about Cal Newport's book about deep
Oh,
work?
yeah, I have read those,
Correct.
and I feel like that book is too, I wouldn't say too theoretical. I feel like uh, there is not enough practical stuff. This book is full of practical stuff.
Is it the opposite though between the deep work and this
Uh,
book?
Yeah, I feel like in deep work is more like you are explaining about some stuff, and then at the very end, this is how you do it. But in this case, this is full of highlight is very important. Here is the 10 tips for you how to make sure that your highlight is working very well. And then
Okay.
uh,
So it's very technical and easy to practice,
yes,
easy to
very
imply.
practical, very easy to do that. And even I also already apply some of those tips, like for example, like highlighting. I put like
Mm.
so one tips that is written in the book, make sure that you use that highlight in the very common place. So I put like a very big notes in my notes. Finish the day
Mm.
marking. Finish the day marking. Finish the day marking. Finish the day marking. So that's my highlight for today. Otherwise, I will
Okay.
be easily distracted.
Okay. Okay, then anyone would like to ask questions to Fajar?
Who is the author? Fajar, you can mention.
The author is, let me see. The author is basically he used to work in Google. He spent Jake Knapp, American author. He spent 10 years at Google, invented design sprint, and then also yeah, and John Zeratsky. May I know why you ask? Okay. Anything else?
Hajar, after what's the difference before you read this book and now after you read this book? Did you make any changes in your daily activities plan?
Yes, because I feel like I start to applying those tips, which is very simple. It's not super innovative, but it's very easy to do. For example, I now use that highlighter method to make sure that the highlighted is the most. I can easily get reminded about my highlight of the day, and then sometimes when I try to find what is my most important goal for the day, I got confused because I have so many things to do. But this book give like a very easy framework on how to find your highlight. The first, you have to choose the most urgent, the most important. But the second, you can pick the most satisfying or the most joyful. Or the third, if you miss your highlight yesterday, please do it now. Please do it today. So that's a very easy framework. I don't have to overthink.
Easy to say, of course.
Yeah, of course. But at least it, I know.
If
But
it's
at least,
hard,
You can easily say, okay, do it today. You would have done it yesterday.
Well, it's most common problem, I would say. Okay. If
I know the
um,
answer for you, Fajar. If it makes money, do it today. No.
You know what's crazy? Even though it makes money, sometimes we still have the reluctance to actually do it. Apalagi kalau no money ya.
oh, yeah.
uh,
Maybe you have
excuse,
too much money in your bank account. That's the reason, yeah?
I have another question for Fajar.
Yes,
sure,
So,
Donald.
yeah, so the second part is leisure, right? And then
yes,
there is energize.
yeah,
So what I get is you need to improve or increase your energy, and then you can be lesser focused on getting it done. Is
yes,
that
that's
correct?
correct.
And what are the tips on increasing energy from this book?
Increasing energy, maybe there are some tips. For example, uh, do you drink coffee? Maybe. All right. So at least one tips that can be done is to pick green tea, because green tea is more like you increase your energy the whole day instead of coffee, because coffee is more like peak energy and then crash. So using that is using green tea instead of coffee is one of the good tips. Another thing, this book give like a very easy 7 minutes of exercise because we are busy. We keep some, at least me, I keep procrastinating exercise. So here's a 7 minute exercise, and then many things. For example, I have not read that book. I only, yeah, basically that. Take real book, leave your headphones at home, and etc. etc. Disconnect sugar, wake up before you caffeinate. Actually, yeah, many things. Okay.
Thank you, Fajar.
All right. I think that's all. Oh,
Shall
yeah.
we?
By the way,
Yeah.
I have to go as well.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Have a great. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And Donald, is it okay if you go next?
No, I'm going to be not available very soon. So maybe Pipit first.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Fajar, oh sorry, Donald, 15 minutes each, kan?
Okay.
Only have. Okay, so everyone, my book is, this is something that, a book that I was supposed to do, but I forgot to bring it. This is The World's Greatest Scandals of the 20th Century. And you might be wondering why 20th century? Because this book is kind of old, from 2008. I actually bought it in 2008 here at Galaxy Mall during my debate competition. But I read it this year. So sometimes a book takes several decades to postpone to be read. Okay. And the reason why I want to read about it is because lately in my surrounding, there are some people who experience downfall in their life. Like, for example, someone who look pretty successful from the outside, and then suddenly we got the news that the person was severely drowned in debt, basically. And then the debt collector even came uh, to the working place to do that. Everyone was shocked because the person looks very rich usually. And I also have a friend who has uh basically, it's a lot of scandals basically lately happen in my surrounding. So that somehow inspired me to read what are the greatest world scandals, at least from the last century. And the book taught me a lot about, I think, same as what Fajar said about what is important in life, but now it's more like in a bigger scale. Yeah. So learning from the stories of a lot of people here, there is Elvis Presley, there is Marilyn Monroe, there is Jimi Hendrix, a lot of politicians. There are politicians such as the a lot of, this book is from Britain, by the way, so a lot of them are like the baroness of something, the senators of something, and then the who is the Watergate, I forgot his name.
Nixon.
The Watergate, Nixon, yes, Richard Nixon. So a lot of these people, if I can conclude, it's very short-sighted. They are very short-sighted in making decisions, such as, for example, following their short-term desire, basically, or short-term gratification. To be honest with you, this book is written in the style of the yellow tabloid style. If you know, the yellow tabloid means the famous gossip tabloids in the UK. So the language is very salacious, feels like you're reading through a um gossip tabloids, and then it's very easy to read and then very fast because it's like a suspense, things like that. So actually a lot of these people lost their career, lost their loved ones, lost their image, and even carried to the death because of their short-term decisions. Most of them are actually the sexual scandals, you know, when someone is married but had an affair, and then also prostitutions includes a lot of these people. So this is all, for example, politicians who were involved in the scandals and that were uh, d- described in the book one by one, including Edward Kennedy, which is the brother of John F. Kennedy. He was about to be the next president. At least he won the primary in the Democratic Party. But then that time he had an affair with the woman. That time, of course, Edward was already married. He had an affair with someone. But then this someone, when they were on the way to their, say, hotel or something like that, they had a car crash, and then that killed the woman. So it was like such a I don't know, it's an unfortunate event, right? So when they killed the woman drowned. Edward thought about not the what should I do to save her, but he tried to save himself, basically, by trying to hide it, the fact that he had an affair, but also the fact that he accidentally killed someone because he was the one driving recklessly. Okay. And then, of course, that cost his uh, career. So he was set to be the next president, but he could not become the president. He was dropped from the race, basically. And then, however, because he was rich, he would still have a lot of money. That's why he still became the senator, at least. So it was like an ordinary person, I think probably would never be able to go back to politics. Another thing is about money. So there's no end in greed. That's what I can imagine. There's another chapter specifically about businesses, where there are people who are already rich, but somehow it's not enough. So even though with the position that is already comfortable, they kept racketing money. And then a few years after that, uh, they got jailed and sometimes became the international uh, fugitives. Yeah. For example, this chapter, Minding Your Own Business, this is all about the list of business people who was considered already rich, but then they got greedy. So they menipu a lot of people. And then usually it's the investment, say bogus investment. So they kind of falsified the paperwork, make it look like very lucrative, but that to make people invest. But in reality, it's actually the investment is just to be used to finance their lavish lifestyle, basically. So the book also described their lavish lifestyle, which is totally out of this world. But the one which is interesting is actually it also involves the king of Netherlands. So Prince Bernhard was the husband of Queen Juliana. Okay, so from the Dutch royal family. So you can imagine the king of Netherlands. He was already comfortable, right? Financially, had a lot of what is it called? Had a lot of privileges, things like that. But somehow also it was not enough for him. He actually approached several companies and then tried to offer them access to be the contractor of the government. For example, like he approached what's that? Oh, Lockheed, the military contractor from the US. Yeah, like if you want the Dutch government to buy weapons from you, you have to pay me this much and blah blah blah. Which is like, in my opinion, this is the guy. It's just unthinkable for me, someone who is already the king, had a lot of money, had a lot of privileges, but somehow it's still not enough for him. And then the last chapter is about musicians. Yeah, musicians. Musicians, not all of them had a downfall because of it. A lot of them actually survived. For example, the Rolling Stones vocalist Mick Jagger is still alive until today. but he was known to have a very wild lifestyle, like uh, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I think you believe in the 60s until all this one. And they describe about how every day a lot of groupies would wait for them, and then there's no really easy way to say it, but then somehow made him lost in terms of losing meaning in life, basically. And he was not capable to actually love someone consistently. Yeah. And then had a lot of children who are illegitimate, and he never got to know his children. So he got children here and there from several different countries, but he himself only give the money but never got to know the children personally. And last thing that I would like to share is that when you are still alive, a lot of people will probably be afraid to talk about you. You're a powerful person, famous, like Charlie Chaplin, for example. When you're still alive, people don't like you. You don't they don't tell you in your face, right? But then as soon as they died, then people feel like they're free to talk about the person. They don't even wait until the grave is dry, and then they started talking about, and this is what actually happened, blah blah blah. So then that's why um for me a lot of these things are very superficial. Yeah, because they admire you when you were alive, things like that. But then as soon as you died, people were somehow slander your reputation. Yeah, what things that when you cannot sue anymore, basically, and you cannot defend yourself. So I think a lot of these stories, crazy stories that come out of this book, kind of remind me of what is important in life, and not to be short-sighted in making decisions, and also, yeah, try to prioritize long-term goal rather than short-term gratification. Okay, so that's it from me.
Thank
Any
you,
question?
Repeat. May I ask which story is the most shocking to you between all these
Someone
scandals?
talk about the
And
condition of the book.
yeah, because it's
Yes,
so
the
vintage
the
though.
craziest story. Mm. The craziest story is probably Elvis Presley's story. It's about the contrast between when he's on the stage, people adore him. It was like he would follow by thousands of people wherever he went, and then when the light is out, he felt very lonely, very lonely. And then it's the contrast that he could not handle, basically, to the point that a lot of people who loved him just locked him in his room because he would suddenly escape and then go somewhere that was probably getting drunk in the backyard of a certain bar. So even though in the limelight he was adored and a lot of people uh, you know, wanted to be with him. But in the end, he led such a lonely life, yeah, until the day he died. Also, same thing as Marilyn Monroe, for example. Uh, she was always in bed with a lot of men, but then she also died alone in her bed, yeah, uh, due to sleeping pills overdose. Yeah, so that's probably the one that, and also the Prince Bernhard, the one I mentioned earlier about this king, who probably should be very grateful that not only he had a lot of money, but also he had a lot of privileges, but still it was not enough for him. He actually uh, created bad legacy for himself. Talking about the physical condition is because it got rained over, not because it's that old. I have much older books in better condition, but because I brought it everywhere last month and then it was got rained over. So this is what happens. Okay, that's it. Any other question before passing on to Donald?
Yeah,
No.
I have a
Oh,
question.
yes.
Has question.
So you said it's ironic they have so many fans, but then some of these people feel lonely. Why is that the case? Is that because they can no longer trust anyone? They feel betrayed, or everybody just try to take advantage of them, or what? What is the factor?
I think everyone has their own case, but for some reasons, all of them involve drugs and alcohol, basically. So, I have a really good quote I learned from other book, yeah, from not from this book, yeah. You know, a lot of people said that money cannot buy you happiness, things like that. It's actually wrong. It says if money cannot buy you happiness, there must be something wrong with how you spend the money, basically. So they did not use their fame and their riches in the right way, for example. So instead of, I don't know, in the case of Elvis Presley, he had a wife and beautiful daughter, right? Instead of focusing on, you know, be with his family who probably truly loved him, but he spent nights with endless string of girls, different girls every night, and then that's why he did not feel loved at all. Then I think it was the very short-sighted decisions and temptations that they fell into that make them uh lonely. Yeah, bad decisions. Already 1:13 loh.
Oh, thank you, Pipit. Uh, Donald, are you ready to present your book next?
Okay, thank you, Tias. So I will go through the questions that Tias share. First, the title of the book and what it's about. The title of the book is Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. The subtitle of the book is The Lost Art of Accomplishment Without Burnout. So, oh, the second one, why did you decide to read the book? Well, actually, I have so many books that I haven't read on my phone, and I read the first part of it, and it catch my attention. So I keep reading until the end. This book is quite easy to understand, and actually he tried to give a counter-intuitive point of view. So this is not a book that you say, okay, that is a common sense. This is the other side. So some people will like it, some people will hate it because some of the advice is counterintuitive, and that's why I read it. Number three, what are your key takeaway from the books? So the book is interesting because it gives a different point of view about productivity. It says slow productivity. It says that nowadays, usually we measure productivity through speed. The more we accomplish, the more we are busy, then that is how we feel productive. But he gives the history where this kind of point of perspective comes from. So in short, in industrial revolution, it is easy to measure productivity. You work, and then the output of your work in manufacturing is the number of goods that you produce. So it's easy to measure. However, in the 20th century, until now, there is a new kind of work which is called knowledge work. With knowledge work, it is difficult to measure your productivity because you no longer have tangible output like in manufacturing. And because of that, people use a proxy to measure your productivity. And that proxy is your busyness. So the busier you are, people assume that you are productive. And it is called pseudo productivity. That is a term in this book. The use of this proxy to measure your productivity. Well, actually, maybe you are not actually being productive, but just appear busy. So the book proposed that you should instead try to be slow and not try to be so busy. And that is the premise of this book. And this book give example. Actually, I think the ultimate example is not mentioned in this book. So it doesn't come from this book, but from the source. I think the ultimate example is Leonardo da Vinci. He is very, very slow and accomplish only a few paintings, and it could take many years to finish one painting. So I think that is the ultimate example of slow productivity that is not mentioned in this book. This book has three principles. So in order to apply slow productivity, the first principle is you do fewer things. And number two, after doing fewer things, you work at a natural pace. And number three is obsess over quality. Number one is do fewer things and then work at a natural pace and obsess over quality. Now, disclaimer, it might not be applicable for people who are under close supervision. So if you don't have any flexibility in your work, it may be difficult to apply these tips, but if you have some autonomy in your work, you can apply this. So first of all, do fewer things. You should try to limit the number of things that you do. The big projects, you limit the number. I think it is a common thing to do using Pareto principle. Then you try to be efficient with the small things. This is do fewer things. Number two, work at a natural pace. So instead of trying to do things as quickly as possible, you take time. Number one, the tip there is to take longer time. Another example given in this book is Isaac Newton. When producing his work in physics, actually took many, many years from the first idea until he published his masterpiece, Principia. It took many, many years. And next, after taking longer, is embrace seasonality. Seasonality means sometimes you work intensely and then on at the time you slow down. So it doesn't mean that you are being slow all the time, just sometimes you are slow, sometimes you are intense. And number three, work poetically. Poetically means you try to work in a way that is supporting your work. The first step is to match your space to your work. So maybe you do the decoration in such a way that it supports your work, or you try to find a new place to do your work. So you are not trapped in the familiar, but you can disconnect from the familiar. And then you have some rituals that you do before you do your creative work. So that is number two, work at natural pace. And number three, obsess over quality. So if you just slow down, it will not give you productivity. The example of Leonardo da Vinci, he obsessed for quality, quite too obsessed, I think. The tips for obsession over quality, number one is improve your taste. So you need to improve your taste, your standard. And number two is bet on yourself. Bet on yourself, actually, I think another way to phrase it is to take risk. So you need to be willing to take risk. Okay, so those are the tips from this book. Do fewer things and then work at a natural pace and obsess over quality. This means that you try to improve your standard and you take risk. Okay, that's all.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Donald. May I ask questions? I think I wrote the draft as well in the chat room. I'm cur very extremely and dying to know about the slow productivity actually, because I wonder if it can be applied to all types of work because I haven't really heard about the word slow, at least for the last 2 years, because I think one of the I cannot say it's a bad thing, but one of the flaw thing about working in my current workplace is because the word slow is not really it's totally unacceptable. So I'm dying to know about the slow productivity. And if it has valid points, I'll show every data and every analysis. I will show it by the end of this year. So my boss.
Yeah, thank you, DS, for the question. Well, it is not applicable to all types of work. So he is quite specific. It is about the kind of work where you you are measured by your output in the scale of years. So, for example, if you are a researcher, one paper that is a breakthrough is more important than many papers that are not a breakthrough. So, for example, Einstein, we still remember the relativity. We do not remember his less popular papers and not so many of them. So it is for this kind of work where your quality of work is the most important thing. And this book also says it is not applicable to all types of work. Yes, yeah, quality over quantity. So for many places or many occupations that doesn't fit this criteria, I think it is not applicable. However, if you aspire, maybe you someday you aspire to have this kind of life, you can think about these principles. For some people, this is the right kind of work. So for some people, not the right kind of work. So it is not for everybody. But I decided to read this book because it is counterintuitive. Actually, I read another book years ago, and the title is the exact opposite. The title is Extreme Productivity. So it's the exact opposite. It's about being fast and do so many things. So extreme productivity, and this one is slow productivity. So the answer is no. Yes.
Okay. I think I have to
I have a
keep
question.
down. Yeah, sure. David.
Yeah, you have to keep what? Go ahead. No,
just
yes, you have to keep
wanna-
what?
I just want to ask Donald, want to give comments to Donald here because I absolutely agree with the author. I think today we learned from Fajar and Donald one thing, yeah. Focus only what is important. Focus only on what matters, yeah. It is difficult because we are used to be bombarded that the faster the better, the more the better, bigger is better. And those are not true, yeah. And even like I met with Uno, and during our interview, and I put that in my book, Conscious Leaders, she said that you have to focus in your job because you have to be excellent, and excellence comes from focus. If you're not excellent, people will never come to you for your work, for your service. But if you're excellent, people look for you, they ask for you. And then that excellence comes from your focus. If you do 100 things in a day, the quality of your job is shitty, I'm sorry to say. But if you focus on one thing and then you get it done, you move to another thing, you get it done, and if you're tired, you focus on yourself, take a break. Then what you give to people are your excellence. And people notice when I do so much in the day, people notice that I'm not going to give you more jobs. I don't experience good service. But when I focus, I'm going to service one client today for my class, for my coach, and I can have a good quality. I'm going to focus on one book in a year. I got good book launch parties. One thing I found out, most people in Jakarta have 50 to 100 WhatsApp groups. I was shocked because I only have 7 to 10. Please raise your hand here. Who has more than 50 WhatsApp groups? Does anybody here have more than 50 WhatsApp groups? So I
Of
think
course.
who said of course?
Me.
I think
Yes.
everyone, but we silent them.
Everyone.
Silent them.
See, you're not focused. That's why. Because when you check your group, everyone has demands, has invitations, and your mind cannot focus. That's why I limit, and that's why I can learn from the book brewers, from the bookaholics, and it becomes book. It makes money and it makes my retirement savings too. So that's what the means slow productivity. I'm not earning the most the money now, but I know in 15 years I will reprint these books. And this lifelong learning book brewers and bookaholics, I can ensure with the focus, we can extend it to the next 5 years. But if you have 50 other groups, you will be gone. But
Yeah,
if
but
you are
Donita, thank
focusing,
you.
Yeah,
you will
I
be
think.
focused.
Sorry, because we have only
Yeah,
4 minutes.
sorry.
Only 4 minutes left. And
If
Pipit
it's
still
Okay,
has a
question.
Thank
yeah,
you,
question.
if it
Donald.
still has questions.
Okay. Don't know. I think the reason a lot of us it's hard to do this slow production is because of the distraction, right? And there's like a lot of options that we could have done. So there's an opportunity cost involved. Like I can spend like 1 hour reading this, but in my mind, oh my goodness, I could have done this instead of did this. I have a lot of options. So is there any tips from the book that somehow can minimize a lot of these distractions and the opportunity cost ghost?
Yes, so it is under the first principle, which is do fewer things. The tip is to limit the big and then contain the small. Limit the big comes from 3 times scale. The first one is limit missions. Missions are things that you do over years. So for example, the author only has 2 missions. He wants to be a college professor in computer science and a book writer. So a writer. So this just 2 missions. And then limit projects. Projects are things that you do on a scale of like 1 month to 5 months. You need to limit this because you only have 2 missions. You have a limited number of projects. And then at the smallest time scale is you limit your daily goals. So there are 3 time scales given in the book: mission for years, and then projects for multi-days, and then daily goals. So you limit at 3 levels, but you start with the mission.
Oh yeah, that's very practical, yeah.
Sorry?
I've heard of this before. That's very practical,
Yes.
especially the limit the goals for the day. Sometimes we are too ambitious. We want to accomplish 20 things in one day, and that's not possible. I have a thing from other book that says if it doesn't matter in 5 years, don't do it. It doesn't make a difference in 5 years, don't need to do it. I think that's probably also the one limiting the daily goals is part of the. Okay, thank you. I will remember that.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Donald. And then I'll ask just one more questions because I think this is not the first Cal Newport's book that you have read, because it's actually because we back in the days where we read the same book. I think I also read one of the Cal Newport's book called Deep Work. So which one is better in your personal opinion?
I think the book is more practical, deep work. It is about doing focused work in day to day. But this book is useful because it gives you a different perspective. So it is more like a food for thoughts, something that we can think about. The book is more common sense, and you try to do the things that are common sense. This one is the opposite of common sense. So it serves different purpose. But the book is more practical, I think.
I see. Okay then. Thank you, Donald. I think it's we have 1 more minute left before we can end the session. So can we take a picture? Wait a second.
Yes, this time I can.
Okay, wait.
Usually I have problem taking photo, but this time I can. Marina, Kak Mita, do you want to turn on your cam?
Marlina, thank you for
Tunggu
coming.
lagi belum enggak ready pada baca kopi udah nggak apa-apa nanti deh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Belum rolang
no, my
rambut.
student is here. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'll share it in the WhatsApp group.
Thank you,
Pipit, are you
everybody.
okay
you
with
Next
showing the hair roll, or would you like to take it down and take one more picture? Or is that okay with you?
Try the what?
The
The hair is
Oh,
fine.
rambut.
No, nothing to be ashamed of. Okay,
Okay,
bye
okay.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
dear.
Have a good
Thank
weekend.
you.
Danita,
Yeah, let me
Marina.
stop the recording first.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Donald, can you stop the recording